The Bible is one book with many little books in it, like how Narnia has a set of chronicles that are many books. Today, our story from the Bible is from the book of Joshua. Joshua is in the Hebrew Scriptures, which is sometimes referred to as the Old Covenant or Old Testament. The book of Joshua takes place after the Exodus, which is when the Israelites, or people who the Jewish faith come from, were freed from slavery in Egypt by God through God's servants, Moses, Aaron, and Miriam. The people, having been faithful in slavery, struggled to fully trust God in the desert, when food, water, and their futures felt less certain. The people lived in the desert for 40 years, wandering and defining who they were going to be as God's people. After Moses dies, Joshua is left in charge. The book of Joshua tells about a number of military conquests of how the Israelites end up in the Promised Land. It is important to remember, Joshua was not written as a history book. It was written much after it happened, and many of the same stories are told differently in later books of the Bible. Like the wandering in the desert, the book of Joshua was more about identity. Who are these people? They are God's people, rather than actually telling fact by fact what happened. The Canaanites lived in a walled city, and they were not faithful to God. The Israelites were told by God that God was giving them this land. Joshua sent spies into Canaan to find out more information. The spies stayed with Rahab and her family. She had a home in the wall of the city. She offered them hospitality, a place to stay, food and drink, and a friendly ear. She discovered who they were, and she recognized that her people were not making righteous choices before God. She understood that these Israelites were supported by God and knew that God was going to give them the land. The Canaanite authorities were informed that there were spies within the city, and they came to search Rahab's home. Rahab hid the spies on her roof, hidden under bundles of flax, because it was barley and flax harvest season. Seeing the flax drying on the roof, the authorities left, believing that the spies weren't in her home. Meanwhile, Rahab spoke with the spies. She wanted to guarantee the protection of her family. They promised that when they came back and conquered the city, they would protect any of her family and her home. They told her to hang a red cord outside her home to show all the Israelite army which home should be spared. Rahab lowered the spies out her window, down the outside of the wall, to safety. She gathered her family into her house and hung a red cord from the door. After the Israelites conquered this city, Rahab and her family continued to live with them. Rahab saved her family by being host to strangers in a strange land. She welcomed guests into her home, but also into her heart. She listened and changed her perspective. She was willing to risk her own safety to protect her guests, and in the end, saved her family and became a respected follower of God.